Hello and welcome to a special video. I wanted to emphasize this video is going to really expand usually your ability to use Excel, because you will be able to write your own functions. What we have learned previously is the use of Excel's function that are built directly in it. For example, we use sum in order to produce or give us a return for us the sum of multiple values. The same thing with average, the same thing with PMT to calculate the monthly payment, the same thing with SUMIF, which is really a very powerful function in order to calculate the sum of multiple value based on certain criteria. Today we're going to build our own. For example, if you have some sort of volume of objects that you would like to calculate, and your boss constantly asking you to do the same thing over and over. So instead of trying to look up those functions every time you're trying to build them, you will be using some of the development tool that is associated with Excel, which we're going to be exposed to it, in order to write a function that you just want to call it by its name, just like you would have you had cold, or you have cold sum, or you have recently called PMT, because you're familiar with PMT, that it's going to take you three parameters, the rate and the number of the years in the loan, in order for you to obtain back the monthly payment. So in order for us to build this function, we're going to ask the mathematician how she wants to use this function. She gave us the volume is going to be V, and I'm going to go ahead and paste the pie. It's a pie chart. I obtained it directly from the internet, from this website that allows me to copy and paste all sorts of characters. And of course, you could easily have done it with Excel itself, if you have the patience to go ahead and insert, look it up in where it is, and click on it, and you'll be able to insert it as well. So pi is multiplied by height. I'm in the wrong cell. Go ahead and get that very quickly. Multiply by the height of the cylinder, and also multiply by the height of the cylinder. Okay, go ahead and make it lowercase. Multiply by r, which is the radius, raised to the second power. How are we going to go ahead and do this? I'm going to go ahead and, of course, raise the second power. So make it, go to the font and make it a superscript. So it will be actually looking like exactly how a mathematician would like to present it. Remember, I put single quotes at the beginning in order for Excel to leave me alone and treat everything as a comment. So now this is what the mathematician gave me. And she told me that repeatedly we're going to be using this. And I thought maybe that's a good idea to go ahead and build a function that will be able to calculate the volume. I know the first symbol is pi, which is already built in function, believe it or not, in Excel. At the H, I asked her what is that stand. She said it's the height. And the R, I know it's going to be the radius. And the 2 is the exponents after raising the R to the second power. So I put here the height, and I put here the radius, and also I put here the volume. I could put here pi very easily. Okay, I could put here pi, and I don't need to really do pi directly here. I could go ahead and actually build it directly into the function itself. So depending on the accuracy, if you notice here, we have pi, start with equal sign, pi with the, pi with the, this is going to be better, approximation or accuracy or precision than the 3.14 we usually use. So we have a function called pi. It's going to represent the pi. So here we go one more time. So I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, give me a couple examples of your radius and height. She told me 5 and 6.5. In the second cylinder, it's 10 and let's say 15. And third one is 5. 4.89. And here are the volume or the cylinder. And we're going to go ahead and C1. And we're going to go ahead and use the fill handle in order to name them, since it ends up with a digit or a number, and we'll be able to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate for you how to build your own function for the very first time. In order for us to do that, we have to really start with developer. If you don't have developer, which it doesn't come naturally as part of the ribbon, you must go to the file, and you must go to options, and you must go to Browsing. Actually, yes, let me go ahead and see. It might not be here, so I'm going to go ahead and look at it. Where is that? Actually, custom ribbon. I'm sorry, custom ribbon. I keep forgetting that custom ribbon is where is the new one. In the 2007, if you have, it's going to be the very first menu, which is in the general. So it's right here. It's in the custom ribbon, and I'm going to go ahead and leave that mistake without editing it, so you could remember that I make mistakes too. And as a result of this, we're going to be able to see that developer is there. So I could take it off, and I could put it back, so it's right there. How are we going to go about this? We're going to click on the developer, as I did earlier, and click on it. Of course, if you click in view, it's going to take the developer away. Developer is back, and we're going to go ahead and click on Visual Basic. And now we are in a completely different environment other than the one that you have seen and used for a long time now. So what we're going to do, and watch this very carefully, we're going to insert modular. And this modular, of course, we could change its name. We could go ahead and call it, let's say, my volumes, because I wanted to go ahead and use that for my volumes, all sorts of volumes. And make sure that you're going to the property in order to, and hit enter, of course. Notice it changed to my volume. So you could really store all the different functions associated with your volumes in the future. So you could be looking for that modules in order to add, for example, the volume of sphere, the volume of your rectangular prism, the volume of cube, the volume of pyramid, all the sort of things that you might use. And now, this is really where we're going to build a function. We all know that a function is a process that is going to actually do something, but usually the function always, we like it always to return a value for us. So we want it to have some sort of value to be getting back to us, which is going to be the volume of the cylinder. However, in order for the volume, and you have seen this repeatedly, but we never stop to think about what we're doing. In order for the volume to actually act on its own calculation, I have to send it two things. I have to send it the radius, and I have to send it the height. Of course, I could obtain pi directly in this calculation, or I could use pi as a 3.14, or I could use it 3.14. I think it's 915. We'll see. It's you can remember it, but I'll actually do it twice for you in order for you to be able to use also a function that you're familiar with in Excel directly in Visual Basic. The intention for this level is not really to go into a deep programming lesson. It's just to get you familiar with how to use a simple function that you want to build yourself instead of constantly do the calculation and and having to repeat the same task every time from scratch. So first of all, we have to write the word function, and we're going to come up with a meaningful name. If you want to call it by your name, let's say like a Travis, or we're going to call it let's say Dustin, and that's fine. Let's go ahead and call it Dustin volume. So, and the way we name the volume, the function names, is never to have a space. So we are actually using no space, but we're capitalizing the V, which is going to be what we call camel casing, because space is not allowed. And you could use an underscore if you want, but it makes it much easier to read this way. And notice here when we hit enter, it's close the function for us. But to continue discussion about the name that you would use for the function is really to have it also meaningful. So you don't want to forget what the name of it. You don't want to call it XYZ and 3 seconds later you're going to forget what it's all about. You should not be using a name that is pertaining to the language, and that comes with experience, of course. You should not use also a name that starts with the digits like 1, 2, 3 or a number. You could start with a letter and end up with a number, but you should not start with a number. So those are basically the most common rules that we apply to the naming our function and also our variable. So I could name our variable here height, so it's really meaning more meaningful, comma, radius. What does that mean? It means that I'm passing two variables. The first variable is going to be receiving the height, which is here to the function local to it, is going to be called height, and it's going to receive another variable. Now it's parameters. It's going to be called radius. So this is two values it's going to be receiving. Of course, there are a lot more to discuss, but I want to make it as generic and as easy as possible. So when we go here, we're going to say, okay, what is the value that I wanted to return? Always the value that you're going to return from the function must be the name of that function. So this is called distance volume. So we're going to go ahead and say this is distance volume, exactly the same name of the function right here. Okay, I'm sorry. We're going to let you give us error right away, but we're going to fix you. So we're going to go ahead and say distance volume is exactly the same name. It's going to be receiving the calculation. Please don't confuse the equal sign here to be equal. Rather, it's going to be an assignment statement, meaning whatever calculation on the right side is going to be done according to the rule of order that we learned at the very beginning of this series of videos. So we could go ahead and say, okay, I know what is the volume of a cylinder is 3.4 for now, multiplied by the height, you know, that I'm going to receive from inside the spreadsheet when this function is called, multiplied by, which is another asterisk, the radius, and I know how to do raising to the second power by using the caret sign or the exponent sign. So now this is basically what the whole function is all about. It's going to take the 3.14 multiplied by the height that you're going to send it, and you could send it as many times as you wish, just like the way we have used sum function. And we're going to also receive a radius, but the radius has to be raised to the second power. Then, according to the rule of order, this is going to be done first, and of course multiplied from left to right. Whatever result is going to be handed to distance volume, and it's going to send to the sheet that initiated the call for it. Let's go ahead and see if that's going to work. I'm going to go ahead and say, all right, I have a function called distance, and here we go. If Excel did not help you to fill the name of the function, that means something went wrong in the way you developed that function. So hit tab, see right there, and I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, this is the 5, and this is actually not the 5. This is the height of the radius, and this is the height. This is the height, and this is the radius, as you notice, and close it because distance volume. It's going to actually take two parameters, two values. The C4 is going to be the height upon its arrival inside the function that is behind the scene in the developer screen, and also D4 will become the radius. And if you notice here, if I go ahead and switch back and forth between the two, here we go, 1 second here. Okay. Actually, I'm in editing mode. But it's okay. I'm going to go ahead and say that the height is going to be 5. Let's say the radius is 6. So upon its arrival, it's going to go to the right side because that's where the execution or the running of the program is going to start, or the function. It's going to take the 6 raised to the second power. Then it's going to take 3.14 multiplied by the height multiplied by whatever 6 is raised to the second power, which is 36. This way, we will be able to see that this function is basically, okay, I'm hitting here. I need to go back to the spreadsheet. Sorry about that. Here we go. I'm in editing mode. I shouldn't be leaving in editing mode. And notice here we get the piston volume for the first cylinder. And I would use it exactly like I have used any other function in Excel, because now it's part of the memory Excel. And notice it's really way too practical, too efficient to build a lot more functions. I'm going to actually record more function for you because this has been a long video, and as a result I will be doing like 2 or 3 in the next video just to get you more practice. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.